So now we want to go back to cybersecurity. And of course, the question of servers does also come in. And joining me this morning, in case you're joining us now, a quick reintroduction of those that we have in studio. We have Thomas Mweri, who's a software engineer and a computer security expert, and Peter Oloch, who's a web admin. And before we took the break, we were looking at just basic precautions that we should take when coming up with a password. And one of the things that you mentioned, and maybe we'd like to anchor on that as well, and coming to you, Peter, is the use of the same password across the board. It makes it easier for my life to just use, the same password for my email address here at work, for my Gmail account, for my Google account, for my Pinterest account. We have all sorts of accounts, and nowadays, it just makes it easier, but there is a danger in that.
Yes, there's a danger in using one password for all your accounts. The danger is in that when the hacker manages to get these details, he can actually mess up your life. From your professional life on LinkedIn, to your communication life on Gmail or Yahoo, for example, to your social life on Facebook, to your other social life on Twitter, for example, all your life. Because someone can just decide to send erroneous mail to your boss, for example, that maybe, let's say, for example, I've resigned or something, or even send abuses to your bosses via communication. Or someone can just send, people can be malicious. Okay. And that can be very dangerous.
All right, Thomas, I've had my Yahoo account hacked at one time. And there were messages going out that I am in some place outside the country and I need money. And of course, this goes to your friends. Yeah. However, when I retrieved or tried to retrieve the account, I found that he had put his email address as diversion. Recovery. Yeah, yes, a recovery. And not just as a recovery. So whoever was sending me mail was actually going to him and not to me. How does that work, and how do I prevent that?
Well, it happens. It happens, and at some point I may have also been a victim of a similar circumstance. But then I think the first step you'd take is to try and contact your most important contacts first and let them know you've been hacked, like a temporary damage control mechanism. And then if at all you had other... Now, you say this email has already been diverted to another email address, then it makes it even more difficult to recover your email address. But then you can still be able to contact the service provider, in this case Yahoo, through other means. I'm sure there's a set of other questions they might have asked you when you were opening the account. And just in case those two have not been compromised, then you might as well be able to recover your account. But in some cases, it gets unfortunate to the point that you cannot be able to control the situation. So that's how harmful it can be.
All right, Peter, let's move to a higher level of security, and this is to do with transactions. We are in a world that is very fast-moving, and we are slowly moving away from cash transactions to credit cards and to authentication on an online platform, regardless of what it is. How safe am I to use or give out my credit card details online? And secondly, if I am making a transaction possibly online using my credit card, what must I be wary about?
Okay, when making a transaction over the internet, let's say bank transaction, for example, or buying goods or services via online accounts like maybe Kilimall or Amazon or Alibaba, one of the things you have to ensure is that the website you're using is secured.
How do I check that?
Most websites has HTTP.
SSL certificates.
But now secured websites, it has HTTPS. There's an S at the end.
The S is for security.
Yeah, the S is for security. You have to ensure that.
And nobody can come up with a pseudo account that has the same looking details. Because nowadays you just create a mirror and you're good to go.
No.
It's difficult, Mike.
That's difficult.
Because when you are asking for that domain, then you've got to go through some sort of interrogation and verification for you to be assigned that secured account. Other than, an attacker wouldn't want to, get themselves known to verification organizations. So that's why they keep off. They tend
so
to
a key thing here to check is HTTPS. The S is for security.
Yes.
And this is on the logging in, the bar at the top.
The address bar.
The address bar.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Then like let's say for the example, the banks or whatever payment you're using, in most cases, after you've captured that, after you've entered your details and click send, mostly the data is usually transported in a secured manner. And as he said also, encryption. Encryption basically is, if I type ABCD, it gets jumbled up, so you only see symbols traveling on the way. So a hacker might not be able to interpret what those symbols are. But from this end, it's ABCD. Then it gets the other end. The ABCD gets encrypted back, so the other end can see it as ABCD. But on the way, along the way, you just see symbols and alphanumerics.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's end-to-end encryption?
Yeah, that's end-to-end
Is that
encryption.
the same on WhatsApp, the end-to-end encryption? Does that mean when I have when it's encrypted on my WhatsApp, in between it's scrambled, but at
the other
end,
the other person.
What about in a case where possibly the police would want to get evidence and stuff like that? Is it possible for them to access information that has been sent via WhatsApp specifically and de-encrypt it? I'm not sure what the right word is.
Well, I would say that's a debatable subject again that now sets us into the rules and laws that be in regards to cyber crimes. And what I know so far, if the police want to get a hold of any information, communication-related information, then they sort of have to partner with the relevant authorities. In this case, maybe the
service
telecoms,
provider.
Service providers, so that then they get this information in an authentic manner. So it would be illegal even for the police to try and tap and eavesdrop, snoop the communication. Yeah.
All right. Going back to transactions, you are saying that, well, there is that encryption. But now, what else do I need to check out, especially because some of the hackers, what they do is that as you enter the information, you're entering it to their account, as it were. I'm calling it their account because they've created something that looks like a real account, but really it is not. All they're doing is getting the information.
Okay. The other thing that probably you need to check is, in most cases, how, like I said before, how phishing happens. Someone can clone just a copy of the Facebook or a copy of KCB website, and you think this is the real account. You need to check up there, because a fake website could be probably KCB 1, or Kenya Airways 2, or Kenya Airways 3, but the real Kenya Airways is Kenya-Airways, for example. So you need to be very keen and check, is that the real website you're dealing with, or it's something else?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess what you're saying is that the first layer of security really
starts with you, of course.
You're the first layer.
Actually, as the president says,
Definitely.
security starts with me. Security
So in the
starts with me.
cybersecurity world, that would also be an
Yeah,
applicable
it
statement.
applies.
With you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the laws and what maybe we need to know, because again, that is an area that possibly is very new, given that cyberspace is something that is developing and is still new to us.
Well, to my knowledge, there is not yet a fully fledged law that does deal with cybercrime, but I know that there has been gazetted a cybercrime bill, and I think that's already a step to the right direction. And this bill deals with 4 main areas. First is the fraud, and then there's child pornography, and then there's, I think there are 2 others. So if someone then uses computer devices to commit a crime, then they'll have to be investigated and be brought to account. However, the challenge still remains. As it is now, Kenya has not set up a forensic laboratory that has got enough capacity to be able to investigate cybercrime-related issues and to be able to successfully prosecute them in court. Because to be able to do that, then you have to present admissible evidence. So you've got to have the right tools to do the job, to gather this evidence, while you analyze the communication, including the emails, those office documents, and even the browser history and the rest. So you've got to get those right tools, but for now, I think they've got to rely on either private companies or even having to seek help from outside the country to be able to move to the right direction. But then I would like to reiterate a statement that was said here earlier, that while politicians think about the next election, real leaders will think about the next generation. And that is to say, I'm calling out to the leaders, the current leaders, to really think about the next generation, because these are the people who are more inclined to technology, and set up an enabling environment for them to be able to exercise and realize their full potential in matters technology.
And the world is definitely headed technology-wise, accused of hacking into systems. Maybe for us to fully understand, Peter, what if a country or a global a powerhouse like America can be hacked into to that degree, what are we saying about cyberspace?
Okay, what we know is that hacking happens and anybody can be hacked. As my colleague here, Thomas Omweri, had said, even Mark Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook himself, was hacked. And most hacking, sometimes you may think it's outsiders doing it. Some hacking actually is an inside job. So for Russians to hack, my thinking is that could be like Roden, was it Schneider? The guy who was trying to pass information to Russia. My thinking that there could be some Americans, within Americans themselves, that probably could be passing some of this information to Russians. Then in the end, you say that it's the Russians who hacked the system.
All right, so would this then now be actual hacking, or is it somebody who has access to the information and it's not really hacking, but they shared the information?
You don't say it's not really hacking. That would still be hacking. And then that boils down to what types of hacking are there. There are really a myriad of them. And so someone could use someone from within to try and hack the systems. So I may want to categorize cybersecurity into two levels. First, the individual security that starts with you, of course, and then the corporate security that now involves big corporates and even government, that they have to, employ nice security policies and go as far as training their employees so that they are sensitive and they know what's going on. So again, there's a matter of trust. Like even when we come down here to right here at home, talking about the IBC servers being hacked, sometimes it's not really a weakness in the system, but rather a problem with the users,
with the people operating the system.
That lack of trust. Even in the case of the US versus the Russia government, there have been allegations. While the Russia government denies, the US keeps on alleging that they indeed hacked into the systems. And it's most likely that an insider leaked out some information that was critical to perhaps influence the outcome of the election. So that still would qualify to be hacking, but we need to understand that hacking would basically wanting to modify some data or the operation of the systems to give different results from those that were intended by the creator. Okay. So whichever way it happens, it would still be hacked.
It would still be hacked. Yeah. We need to wind up, but I want us to wind up as we also understand, if I was working, say, for instance, within this setup, I know there are people in the internet space that are making sure that hopefully the network is secure. But now, when I subscribe to a provider in my home, and all they do is come, put that connection, and give me a Wi-Fi connection, and here I am. Is that safe? And what do I need to do to ensure that I'm safe at home? Because I've heard of stories where people can access your network, access your cameras, access everything, and literally know what's going on in the house while I'm thinking I'm very safe.
It happens. And then I would say you need to do some due diligence in trying to look up this particular provider and see probably what reviews other people who have used it before have given them. That would be one point to start from. But then it gets to advanced levels, some of which can get out of control.
So how do I ensure that I'm secure? Without somebody accessing my internet at home, and literally, I mean, I had one guy who was telling me that he can literally hack into the Wi-Fi system. And once he hacks into the Wi-Fi system, he hacks into anything that is connected to that system, from cameras to information, to speakers, microphones. They sometimes can hear the conversation in the house. Is that imagined or is it real?
It happens. Let's talk networks. As I said earlier on, to set up a network, it depends on what kind of configurations you enforce. And therefore, that will determine what kind of security there will be in that network. I understand that most of the networks we use at our homes are affordable, if I may use that word. And therefore, we do not expect that we can implement a lot of configurations, including firewalls and all of those. So everything will come at a cost. So you can go ahead and incur more, but remain secure.
All right. And your closing comments, Peter?
My closing comment is security starts with you. When browsing any website out there, just ensure that you are browsing on safe website, HTTPS, secured websites. When someone sends you an email and probably tells you to click on a given link, or you see some of these banners on the web where you are told, click here, pop-ups, click here to earn $1 million, click here to win this, avoid such links. Avoid clicking any links on the web. If you go to a cyber, for example, or a TCAF, or a hotel and there is free internet, avoid free things. Free internet can be very costly. Yeah, avoid free internet.
Yeah,
buy data if you can. If you set up internet in your house, probably you can also be resetting your computer. Format the computer, reset the system every time. If there's a keylogger, for example, such will be formatted. If there's an internet in your house, ensure you have a strong password for the Wi-Fi connection. Hackers will find it hard hacking into such an just ensure you have a long sentence or a passphrase as your
password.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll have to wind it up right there because of time. That's Thomas Omweru, who's a software engineer and a computer security expert, and Peter Oloch, who's a web admin. Thank you for joining us this morning on Tech Central. It is now